Good morning
we're live?
to Ed
There we
Greer,
go.
Spencer Gilbert.
Oh, we're off to a great start.
We wanted you to know right away that we have Ed and Spencer here to make this show amazing. I'm Roth, Cornet. That's Dan Murrell.
Hello.
We also exist to some degree, and we are going to talk about lots of entertainment things today. Donald Glover has some choice words for Marvel.
I thought our set was purple. I'm like a floating head today.
Oh yeah, you are. Yeah,
bit.
it's like green on the green screen. Other than that, it's a very grown-up looking shirt though.
Thank you. I have dinner tonight.
Oh.
Good, drink your shirt and get the strength of the Black Panther.
MoviePass, how MoviePass is impacting what you watch, and the best of Spielberg continues this week with Nostalgia Week. Let's talk about Donald Glover first and foremost, and then we'll talk about later on Spencer's cotillion that he will be attending tonight.
Salad, fork, and bullet. Never remember.
Always go out to in. Yeah. Donald Glover, God, he has some salty Deadpool tweets. He tweeted a script that we're wondering how much of it was actually already written that he tweaked for the current circumstances, and how much of it did he just completely write for the following reason. We talked about this the other day. His animated Deadpool series for FX was canceled due to creative differences with Marvel. So there's a little more information on that now. He basically tweeted out, said, hey, I'm not too busy to work on Deadpool. And it's a 15-page script that is part what you would have seen in the show and part just like F you Marvel. Apparently, FX was behind Donald Glover and his brother Steven creatively, but that Marvel, and presumptively it would be Jeff Loeb, who's the head of TV at Marvel, were not on board with it, and so they parted ways. Which is unfortunate because it was already in production, but if you guys have not seen this script, I encourage you, after you watch this program, to go do so, or alongside. You have two windows open, that's fine. But here's a couple of the things that he had to say. Quote, he's talking about what some of the issues may have been, and one of the concerns he believes was the Marvel thinking maybe they wouldn't connect to white audiences. And he says, quote, this is from Deadpool in the script, and the references were pretty black too. I heard they went over budget ordering Jamaican food at least once a week. Maybe we were alienating our white audience, question mark. In one exchange in the script, Deadpool laments, it just feels like everyone wants something different, but no one wants to do anything different to get it. Doesn't Marvel have enough feel-good minority shows everyone supports but doesn't watch? I mean, I think our show would have been funny. I just wanted a place to be honest, tearing up. And I guess that place is Freeform. Okay. So Donald Glover obviously works with FX already. Disney is, here's my big concern about this. We talked about this a lot, but Disney is buying Fox. FX is a part of Fox. They have said that they're not going to really touch what they do because what FX does, they do really well. They make great either prestige shows or shows that are a little more daring. There's certainly a lot of the television that I watch is on FX. And I do not want it to get Marvel-fied or Disney-fied. I want them to leave it alone. If you're buying a thing because you like what they do, let them do what they do. And this is just a case of like, that clearly didn't work.
Yeah? Question?
A, do you... God, you make me work for
Prompt
it.
me.
She works hard for her money.
Bump it so I can spike it.
First, tell me your favorite parts of that script. And two, why do you think, was it that Marvel is going to start to take more and more control of Deadpool? Because this just sounds like Deadpool to me. It sounds like the same Deadpool we see on screen.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was meta. It was super topical. My only concern is like the references to Bitcoin and the White Rhino story. Like it might take this a while to animate, and by then we'll have moved on to something else. But that's the issue with Deadpool too. Like that's why he's making 90s references. Like they're safe. It was great. I thought this was like South Park, like animated series was talking about what was going on today, like right here, right now. And whether he wrote this in the like yesterday or in the last 2 weeks, like I would have wanted to watch this show. And I think that if the show were to exist, true to Deadpool, like he would have been making fun of Marvel. He would have been commenting on the other, prestigious but low viewed Marvel shows and stuff like that. Like that all rang very true. It didn't seem, I know it, in a meta way it is like Donald Glover being bitter, but it never felt different from what Deadpool would have said.
What's your take, Ed?
Well, no, I kind of agree that, I mean, the script is really salty. I mean, it's super, super salty. But it kind of indicates that his Deadpool was going to be maybe a slightly different. I could see the voice being slightly different. He does make some. I mean, Deadpool seems pretty hip hop friendly, at least 90s hip hop. You know, like Shoopy Doop and all this kind of jazz. Right, Onyx, you know, DMX, you know. He stopped listening to hip hop around 2003. So I feel like it would have been fine, but I also think that if you want, I don't think they would let Fox make fun of Marvel. I do agree with that point that you guys that seem to be making, that Fox doesn't get to make fun of Marvel just yet. They don't get to.
What do you think their problem was? What's your problem, Jeff Loeb?
I don't think the script was written before this weekend when the show was canceled. It's just too. It's talk about what's happening with Facebook right now and Sudan the White Rhino right now, and there's a lot of things like not just current pop culture things, but are that like right this exact second. And unless you're South Park, it's not gonna. If that was the approach that they took, that every script that they wrote was complete with references that are only relevant in that exact moment, I can see why they might go like, well, we can't do this. So I don't think this was a script for the actual TV show. I think they wrote this, as a response to what happened. It is very, they're not happy, obviously, about what happened. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really get a feel from the show on this because I don't think this is an example of what the show necessarily was going to be, because I think this feels like a direct response to what happened. So, I think the more, there's so many different parties involved with this. You have the Glovers, you have FX, you have Marvel. Without knowing specifically what Marvel's precise issues were, it's kind of hard for me to pass judgment on what the show would have been.
Can I just say how much I love talking about the Glovers, like the Wachowskis or whatever? That's fantastic. Or the Coen brothers, that's fantastic.
We were talking about that earlier. If you think about way back, Comic-Con, I think this was like 2010, there was this movie Mystery Team that Donald Glover was in with this like online comedy troupe that he has, which is actually a really cute, funny movie. I think Ellie Kemper's in it. You should go check it out. But who he was then in the start of Community to now is so different. It's really interesting to have watched how much he's grown up.
Well, to me, this is like a return to his like comedic roots, not his like man of mystery, neo R&B act. Like this is like, oh, he's writing jokes again. Like it was refreshing.
Well, I think Donald Glover is smart enough to very, very consciously introduced himself a certain way, in a certain very non-threatening, goofy, fun way, and now he gets to do Atlanta, which is so hardcore, because he introduced himself as like, hey, bunnies, and then all of a sudden it's like gun violence and and
bunnies care about? Gun violence.
Yeah, exactly. So I just felt like I think also he might have been. I mean, I read that. I guess it was a New Yorker article about him. It was like 8 pages long, and he's like comparing himself to Jesus and stuff like that. Which, hey, I love hyperbole. I train in a hyperbolic chamber. Okay, I love it. So I'm not dissing that at all. But I do feel that person going up to FX and telling them how they wanted to do Deadpool, it sounds good until you get I bet you the execution of the script wasn't too far afield of what we read. It was just maybe more bland, maybe more references that were more timeless. Or evergreen.
Or, it could have been the Deadpool, that the voice of Deadpool, the character sounded like Donald Glover, and it could have been that Marvel saw it and they're like, well, wait a minute now, this has to be a little bit more like Deadpool, and they're like, well, no, this is the show that we wrote, and then this is
but
how
I'm Donald
things
Glover,
implode.
entertainment Jesus. He should sound like me. That's the best, most marketable way to go. And I could see that being a conversation more so than this Fox can't make fun of Marvel jazz that I was trying to pitch earlier. Because that doesn't make sense anymore. That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, we traffic heavily in hyperbole and nonsense around here, so we have nothing bad to say about it. I do wonder, though, the timing is very interesting in the sense that Fox was handling Deadpool and how Deadpool was executed. It took a lot of time for Deadpool to get on screen. It took that leak to happen to get Deadpool on screen. It wasn't a leak. It was like you were participating in a focus group, but you didn't get your $50. So I do think that Deadpool is a tricky character, perhaps, but I do also wonder if this now means that Marvel is going to want to be taking more and more ownership over these X-Men characters, both on television and in the movies. To be clear, they have made it very clear that there is a separation between the TV division and the movie division at Marvel. Like, Kevin Feige's like, I got nothing to do with them. They got nothing to do with me.
And we're gonna end up with. I assume they're still gonna make an animated Deadpool show, or is it just completely off?
I mean, I think it's a potential. Bless you.
Thank you.
I think it's a potential that they move forward, but they're certainly not going to do it for their streaming service because that doesn't fit into the model that they've described for that service, which is very family friendly. If they're not going to do it at FX, then where are they going to do it? And if they get new creators now, I feel like the audience is going to be a little rejecting of it. And if they sanitize Deadpool, nobody wants that either. So I don't know.
Well, there you go. If it was going out, then at least we got this little nugget of what could have been.
Yeah.
I would have.
That would have been a very capable replacement for Archer or something of that nature on FX.
Yeah.
That would have been the show.
Yeah.
So that's the herder right there, because I don't know what they're gonna do after Archer. That's a niche. Adult animation is an actual real
Always
niche.
Sunny can't go on forever.
It,
Yeah.
in fact, can and bite your tongue. And the reason that it can is that, like The Simpsons, they never learn. They stay the same characters every single
no, I don't mean
season.
creatively. I just mean those guys are too rich now. Like, why?
Well, yeah,
Why
I
keep
mean,
going?
Charlie Day's like, come on, man, I got
Yeah,
Pacific Rim 3 to do,
Yeah,
man.
I'm in movies.
They always say that this is the thing they want to do, though. Like, they do all that other stuff, but they want to do Sunny. The one that I actually worry about more is Glenn Howerton. He's like the one
AP
that I
Bio,
think,
yeah, he's
Yeah.
a network star now.
yeah, I think he actually wants to break out of Sunny more than the rest of them. What's Matt got going on? Come on, Rob Michael. He's actually directing and producing a lot of things. I think
Great.
he's a very talented guy. Do you guys want to talk more about Sunny?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
It's a good show, Dan. You should check it out.
There are 400 shows on television. That's
Right,
one that I haven't
dude.
seen.
Yeah, at this point, we got to stop the
Yeah.
shaming.
I mean,
Too
come on,
much
it's
stuff
not
to
like
watch.
there's
What's
3
that
networks
shame?
and
I said
4
it's a good
shows.
show. You should check it out.
You haven't seen the latest episode of Taboo with Tom Hardy? It's in the 1800s. He's a fur trader, for Christ's sake. What are we talking about here?
Do you watch Sunny?
I watched Taboo, obviously.
All right, there is a lot of things. There are a lot of things for all of us to watch, but some things I think are more deserving of your eyes than others, and Sunny is one of them. It's available to you on Hulu. It's on a variety of
There's
services.
4,000 shows, and there's 400 shows on TV, and there's 4,000 available to me everywhere else. It's on my list.
Have you seen
Spencer, I am
Rhoda?
recommending
It's
it.
all the episodes are on Hulu. Literally everywhere.
Cheers, like all of Cheers is on CBS All Access. That's months of your life,
Dude, I
potentially.
straight watched every one of those. Dude.
Did you really?
Yeah.
And that's one show. That's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
You spend months, and then you just like of the wall of shows. It's like
They've got all
Yeah.
the Golden Girls. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Oh,
it's
sign
insane.
me up. You can't go. Look. We don't have time to go back and watch classic TV. I mean, there's no.
Well, we'll have to
ability.
start a show, gabbing about the Golden Girls or something, like our recap.
On the lanai.
I would do it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Who is who? I think I'm the Dorothy, sadly, if we're honest.
Yeah.
You're probably it's Joe the Blanche.
Yeah.
Joe's
Yeah,
the Blanche.
Joe's the Blanche.
Right? Who's the Sophia?
I guess that would be me.
Yeah, you're definitely Sophia.
So you're Betty White? I started this wrong. MoviePass is changing the way that we do movies. Is it the impending doom of all things theatrical experience? Probably, so says me, but they say
Mike Moverman.
no. And it keeps going.
Hi,
Movie-
Mike Moverman.
They provided some numbers to Business Insider about which movies they've sold the most tickets for. Black Panther, not surprisingly, comes out at number 1 of 1 million tickets sold through MoviePass. More than 750,000 tickets sold for Jumanji, 500,000 tickets sold for Star Wars, Game Night, and The Greatest Showman, 400,000 tickets sold for Annihilation. Hey, The Post, Thor Ragnarok, and The Shape of Water, 300,000 for 3 Billboards, Justice League. That's an amazing comparison. It's like 3 Billboards and Justice League are in the same category. Red Sparrow and Coco, 200,000
That's my
for
Justice
200,000 for Pitch Perfect, Peter Rabbit, Molly's Game, 12 Strong, Tomb Raider, 5:10 to Paris, Wrinkle in Time, Darkest Hour, Death Wish, The Commuter, Maze Runner, Lady Bird, Murder on the Orient Express, and I, Tanya. So one of the interesting things looking at this list to me is like they're really touting how good this is for the independent theater experience and the independent movie. Not a lot of that represented on this list, with the exception of Annihilation, 3 Billboards, I,
Shape of
Tanya.
Water.
Yeah,
A
but
lot
it's a
of the
lot of
Oscar movies.
blockbusters. A lot of blockbusters.
Well, I mean,
Those
yeah,
sell more tickets.
yeah.
Don't argue with my logic.
I mean, that's not. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that. You
I
know.
want more people to go see independent movies. That's what you promised me, CEO Mitch, who was here.
Well, but
But-
part of that is that they're not available everywhere.
They're not. Well,
So you're cutting off access, and particularly here in LA, even when they open, they're not at theaters that MoviePass accepts. Usually, independent theater movies open here in LA at the ArcLight, which is not a theater that MoviePass is a partner with.
are they partnered with you have it?
I have
right?
it, yeah.
So are they partnered with like the Lemley?
They are
Lemley
probably,
and the
yeah,
Landmarks?
and I've seen a few theaters at
Yeah.
a few movies at Lemley using MoviePass. But there's some like Game Night, for example, more than 500,000 tickets for Game Night sold. That is not a movie that was. It's doing well, but it's not. It's not Last Jedi or Greatest Showman as far as box office goes. Like those are the ones that are interesting to me. Game Night, Annihilation, more than 400,000 tickets sold, because that means that there is a pull, and there were people that maybe wouldn't have seen those movies because it's an anomaly. These aren't movies that made a bunch of money and also sold a lot of. These are the movies that didn't, but sold a lot of MoviePass, and that's what's interesting to me is that are more people going to see movies like Annihilation, like Game Night?
Annihilation was the one that
MoviePass.
struck me, where I feel like that definitely had an impact on Annihilation. And some of these smaller movies where, yeah, maybe you wouldn't pay the $15, but if you've got MoviePass, you'll go check it out.
Yeah, I think it bears more analysis of the data over time, so that we can see like it. There's a person who goes, I ain't paying $15 for no damn fish lady movie. There's that person, and there's also the person who goes,
man.
whatever. And then there's the person who goes, I ain't paying no damn $15 for no Thor movie. So it's like it depends on who you are. There's movies on this list that I would certainly not pay $15 for, but I would certainly go see under MoviePass. Game Night is one of them.
Are there exit polls on MoviePass? It's like, why did you see this movie because you had MoviePass, or because would you have bought a ticket anyways?
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit. They'll send an
Surveys.
email sometimes
Yeah.
asking about that. But I'm sure that the response rate is very low because most people just
I
delete
just
them.
feel like ultimately we're heading to a place where it's like theaters are going to be Spirit Airlines. You know what I mean? It's just like the financial model won't work. Like I don't know if anybody's traveled via Spirit. It sucks, and don't do it.
Like a human slingshot.
It's like, yeah, it's the worst. They're like, you have your ticket, and then you show up, and they're like, well, now you got to buy a seat. What the fuck are you
Flintstone
talking about?
airline just chuck you into the sky like a paper airplane.
Everyone runs.
Yeah.
Like the
feet
seat
are at the
on the
bottom.
plane is not included.
Oh,
It's
you
madness.
wanted to carry on bags.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah,
another
that's
charge.
another charge.
So at the
yeah.
end of the day, you end up paying as much as you would for a normal airline. So just go with the normal airline in the first place. Is my take on that.
Where-
But my point
how
with
did we
this is
get
like
here?
because
Pull up.
Bring us home.
because with the theater going experience, look, they're setting up a price point that doesn't work. We all know that. And so over time, I feel like theaters are going to have to strip away all of these amenities. They've gone in one direction with trying to provide more and more and more amenities to make the higher movie prices worth it. People are not buying them. Box office is low. So they're going to have to, in order to maintain this, strip away more and more amenities. And then I feel like you're going to end up paying like, okay, you have your basic ticket, but if you want like things, you're going to have to pay more and more and more to get it. And you're going to end up with an experience where like the big event films are equally or more expensive. And there are tiny little theaters with very few amenities playing these smaller films, but they're fighting a tide I don't think they can win.
But I mean, that's what it is now. Most indie movies do play in smaller theaters with very few amenities.
Have
I wouldn't
you
say
been
Film
to the
Stars Don't Die
Sunset?
in Liverpool. I mean, it was a tiny, this little theater, little screen. I mean, that's the Los Feliz 3. One of my favorite theaters in LA is a tiny little theater, very small screen, but they play the movies that you can go see at an affordable price. So I feel like that's happening already with the smaller film.
A little bit, and
And there's no
there-
rumble seat or
4D.
anything.
For film stars?
Right. Yeah.
If you can
There
give me a
was a-
seat where I can see the screen, that's all I need. I don't need,
Oh, I like the whole
Any-
thing.
I don't need
Yeah,
anything
the
else.
Sunset Theater that plays a lot of independent films right up there. It's on Sunset, and
Yeah, but they card you just to. Well, this is very local. Los Angeles Theater Talk, but
Yes.
they card you to get in.
They card you to get in.
I wasn't
because
planning on drinking. I didn't have my ID. I had to go home.
I was planning on drinking. And why don't you have your ID? You should always have your ID with you when you're out of the
travel light.
house.
That's not the theater's fault that you didn't carry around your
Should have your
identification.
Why do I need to show papers, please, to get in to see a movie? My money's good here.
Because they serve alcohol.
Why
there.
don't you have
But I
your
wasn't
driver's
buying alcohol.
license?
Well,
You should
that's-
just
I
have your
tried that when I was a
driver's license,
kid.
we would have to identify you.
I tried the "but I'm not drinking" argument to get into bars when I was in college, and guess what? It don't work, Spencer.
Yeah.
It's just the ID at the bar, I understand.
All it takes is one drunk kid or one drunk guy that looks your age. Either way, to ruin it for everybody. So
I want to be optimistic about this thing. I walked away. Billy and I did an interview with the CEO, and I walked away from that thinking like, God, this guy could sell scales to a snake. You know, he was a really good salesman, but I still had the same amount of questions, and I remain really skeptical that this is ultimately going to be good for either this industry or for the theatrical experience or for the audience. Ultimately, things that look like they're too good to be true are. They just are.
my personal opinion on it is, it seems as though we're forgetting that things fall apart and tend to shatter. Okay, we're forgetting that we're like sacks of meat that are dying every day, and everything that we like is doing the same thing. Celluloid is literally dying. Find me a print of Birth of a Nation. Okay, wrong movie.
Why do you want to
Because I want to destroy it with my own two hands. No, but come on, find me a print of some of these of the fucking that locomotive pulling into the station. That celluloid is deteriorating. Martin Scorsese and George Lucas, they're trying to save film. What we like is literally dying. We're reading books. All of us here read books. You guys seem to be very intelligent. We read books. Books are going away. They're actively going away. While you have a book in your hand, it's disappearing like Marty McFly's parents.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The
See, Roth,
physical,
bit by bit, we join the chaos. So just
You know what I'm saying? So
die.
that's all I'm saying is that's what this is. Let's say this sustains itself for 10 years. You got 10 more years of sitting in the seats and watching movies for $6.95 or whatever.
$16.95.
That's fine.
With that seat.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, but on with the MoviePass, it's whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's say you got 10 years of that before they go in wrong.
It's not 10.
Just 5.
5.
Go
Tops.
for the 5. Enjoy your 5. I'm in an enjoy my 5 type of situation right now.
So this went from being our moment of nihilism you brought it all the way around to like
Hedonism.
the optimistic, just straight up like, you know what, screw it, let's get drunk and destroy everything. while
Dionysian
we're still
business
alive.
model.
There will always be a place for people that want to see movies. I will predict this. There will always be there might not be many, and they might be expensive, but there will always be somewhere for people that want to see movies on the big
There's
screen.
still playhouses.
I went and saw last night. I went and saw There Will Be Blood, which came out 11 years ago on a big screen here in LA, and it was a big theater, and it was packed. There are people that will always want to go see movies on the big screen. Now,
It's already hard for people outside of LA and New York to see some of these smaller movies, though.
Oh, I got
Especially on the big screen.
But that's always been the case.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I
It's
got a
never
brilliant
been
idea.
easy for people outside, and that's something that the studios need to fix. But I mean, I don't think movies will ever go away. I just think it's very difficult right now for them to sustain at the level that they currently have to with as many theater chains as there are, with 4,000 screens per release, major release. That's what's unsustainable.
I agree. And I think, Ed, to your point, I'm actually not trying to fight the tide. I'm trying to roll into the streaming tide. That is the way it is going. That is the way it will be. I think fighting that is madness. I really do. And I think we should just submit.
Well, to Dan's point, though, a lot of people say watching Star Wars Last Jedi on your freaking phone is madness.
It is.
And
but that's
you
not
know.
the only option. I mean, because as streaming grows, so does the potential size of your television and your home. I love going to the theater. I love seeing movies with other people. That is something that but how many people are as obsessed with this as we are? I want people to be able to make great art and to see great art. And as long as it's not on your phone, literally on your phone, which is truly crazy, then it's okay. You know, there are movies that you have to see in the theater. Those movies should go to the theater. But every year, there's only a handful of movies that I would say you 100% have to see this movie in a theater and nowhere else.
I don't know. I would say there's way more than that, more than a handful. I would probably recommend 25 30
That's a
of the
handful
movies that I saw.
compared to what
Big
we
handful.
see a
Well,
year.
I mean, that's a huge. That's a huge. That's
we see
5 times
probably
more than the average
150.
moviegoer.
Well, for
sees
somebody who's
every
daunted by
year.
television right now, that's a lot for Dan. That's a lot. That's a lot for me. I agree with Dan. 25 movies a year. I have my interest totally. I'm already sold before I hit the theater. 25 times maybe.
There's
20.
If I think about last year, there's a smaller number of movies. There are movies that I say are helped by seeing it in the theater, but that are really hurt by not seeing it in the theater. Like massively, you fucked up to not see this in the theater. There's
Right.
only a few. There's like Dunkirk. Like there's no point if you didn't see it in IMAX, you just didn't see it. Gravity is another one.
Right.
But Annihilation even is one that I really feel like you should see that on the big screen. Because you will not have had the same experience of the film.
But it's not just it's the experience of seeing Wonder Woman in a theater with people where there's applauding
People
and
will
cheering.
always
It's
do
the
that.
experience of seeing a movie,
Even something like Creed that
Dunkirk
doesn't have
or
all that-
Creed, or
Right.
exactly
Right.
like that's the thing. That's the shared experience. Like that's the magic. It's great. The technical stuff is great. But the magic is the shared experience. And what these theaters need to do and get in their heads is that if they just commit to providing a quality experience, because as many people have stopped going to theaters because it's too expensive and inconvenient, and they don't patrol them, and there's people on their phones, and there's people talking, and they say, "Ugh, I'll just watch it at home." As many people have left theaters because of that as because of streaming. And so if the
Right.
theaters want to stay in business, like I don't know if I don't think MoviePass is sustainable, and and some of their business practices, I'm still like, I don't know about that. But it does seem to be getting more people out to the movies. So if that's what it takes right now,
All right.
great. But hopefully in the meantime, the theaters are figuring something out, because it's on them as much as it's on the culture change.
My brother had that same argument. That's why he and his wife stopped seeing movies in theaters, because people talk too much and they're on their phones. And clean it up, theaters. Clean it
The
up.
Grove. I will give the Pacific Theater at the Grove. I went to see a movie there last weekend, and a credit where credit is due, because I've slammed theaters that don't do this. They had somebody that came in a few times during the movie and asked 3 separate people to put their phones away, and they did, and they didn't bring them back out during the movie. And that's what theaters have to start doing.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. This has been a segment in which we all agree about the same things and want the same things, and yet we argue. That's what we do here.
Screen Junkies in a
Screen
nutshell.
Junkies, where we can argue even in
Anything.
agreement. Literally anything can become an argument. We want people to go see movies. We want great movies. We want to see them in the theaters. And you know what else we want? We want to celebrate Nostalgia Week. Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, wow.
What's that eye?
Dun, 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 dun,
Alien?
dun,
Aliens?
dun.
Yeah.
okay.
Aliens.
Boom.
Yeah. This
Dan.
is the week that Ready Player One comes out. Obviously, it's Steven Spielberg, and it's playing on all your member berries. And so we're going to talk about our favorite Steven Spielberg movies, starting yesterday with Dan, Jaws. Today, Spencer Gilbert.
Okay. I'll present my favorite Spielberg movie, which was Jaws, but, Dan laid claim to it first. So I will pick
Damn right.
I wasn't on the show. You got it. You
Yeah, you're going to need a bigger boat for that one.
Yeah, I'll pick Land Jaws, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is a monster movie on land where they're being stalked by dinosaurs who have broken out of their containment. And to me, this is peak Spielberg, because he's obviously capable of seriousness and heartfelt feeling with your Munichs and your Saving Private Ryans and stuff like that. But this is Spielberg at his most childlike sense of wonder. And what's more childlike and speaks to the child in all of us than, like, dinosaurs! Look at the dinosaurs!
Yeah.
Look, there's dinosaurs, they're real! And he doesn't just rely on that. The movie is like, it's not deep, but it's about something. It's about playing God or letting nature take its course. And it doesn't just, like, stop the action to be like, by the way, kids, like, man should not play God. It's just infused in the whole thing. The story has a central question or a central theme that's played out in the action. It's played out in the dialogue. It's played out in the characters. So it's very, very well crafted from a story perspective. Just great lines of dialogue. He did a great rewrite of Michael Crichton's original script, which was, like, Michael Crichton has a lot of interesting ideas, but is what are you saying?
A lot of math.
Yeah. And just from a craft perspective, the combination of it's not puppetry, but the dinosaur puppet.
No, they are puppets.
Yeah, but whatever it's called, practical plus
Animatronics.
CGI. Animatronics
Animatronics,
plus
yeah.
CGI.
This is Go.
is incredible. And then when you add that on top of an amazing story, on top of great characters, and on top of John Williams' score, which is just the most epic thing in Spielberg's oeuvre. It's just so like da-na-na, like it's just the score is the perfect match for the tone, the perfect match for the story of childlike wonder in dinosaurs, and really had something to say. And guys, I'd watch it a million times in a row.
It's a great movie, and I think that's my favorite part of it is that revolutionary combination that works so well, and they found this incredible balance, and that was like right at the forefront of using CG and combining that with the more practical effects. And then people didn't just keep doing that, and that's very confusing to me.
It takes time.
You know, like, yeah, it worked beautifully. It was great. It stands the test of time. The movie still looks great. Let's keep doing that thing.
It's really hard to do. And hard things, like I think we take it for granted. Like these masters at the height of their powers and the top of their craft did it, so why can't the new Transformers movie do it? Because these people are geniuses. Like they're great at it.
Well, one thing I noticed as an action junkie was that, like you were talking about the animatronics, when you go from real to fake quickly and you cut back and forth, it cements the reality. So we see a total CGI dinosaur, but then a real dinosaur head pushing the windshield down on the kids.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
And then when it runs, that's also real, but it's not. That's CGI.
But you accept it
You
because your brain's
accept
like, oh, I
Because
know
you've
this is a real
seen-
thing already.
Yeah. I mean, they're animatronics, but they are called puppets too.
Right.
Hey, Caleb. Go ahead.
I have nothing. I was just
On
listening.
Jurassic Park?
No, I mean, I have a lot on Jurassic Park. I'm sorry, I thought it was being queued up for something specific. No, it's a great movie. I love that movie.
I'm not loving the meta commentary.
I like
I'm gonna get meta and say I'm not loving it. Carry on.
I didn't know there was a meta commentary. I have no meta radar.
Meta radar.
No, it's a great movie. It's particularly the detail to the characters, which is the point that I was always making when the other one came out a couple years ago, was the fact that you had dinosaur action, but you had number one, a story that had something to say, like you said. You know, there's a scene of all the characters sitting around a table eating lunch, arguing about ethics. And so when people say, like, well, audiences don't have the patience, it's like, no, you just made one of the great dinosaur movie, and there's a 5-minute scene of all of them talking about whether or not you should bring dinosaurs into the modern age. Like, yes, people do have patience for these things if you write it well, and if you have a good, set of, like, people think, I think studios think that audiences are stupid, and that they won't sit through 2 minutes of people talking. It's like, yeah, they will if you write it well.
I mean,
And they
there's a
think
whole
that
chaos theory thing with a cup that we watched.
You learn about math.
Right. And being about something doesn't mean like it has to be about racism. It has to be about politics. It has to be about the spirit of man. It just has to be about something.
Right.
It's just, even if it's about nature versus science, like it has to have some kind of interesting question underlying it. Otherwise, we instinctively are just like, I'm watching a 2D cartoon.
Do you know what the really interesting thing about that is? That the movie postulates that life will find a way, nature will always win. But from our observation of the world, like, no, science is winning. Like, if science wants to destroy a thing, it's pretty much done.
This is hubris, Roth. Have you learned nothing from Jurassic
learned
Park?
I
don't want you in charge of my theme park.
I don't want that to be the case. I don't want that to be the case at all. But the truth is, we're destroying half the planet handily. We're very upsetting as a species.
Nature has your hurricanes and your mudslides and your fires and your things, like it's
Nature as LL Cool J. Don't call it a comeback. Been here for millennia.
Yeah, nature could shake us off like
Tectonic plates, making shit shake.
Yeah, what with the global warming and everything.
Yeah,
we'll be extincted.
We're extinguishing ourselves. Nature will be fine.
Yeah, but we're doing it. That's the irony.
Well, I mean, I think George Carlin said it best, where he said, we can't kill the world. We can kill ourselves, and the world will be here. And in 10,000 years, when there's a fully functioning ozone layer for some reason, because we're gone, and, there's sharks swimming through skyscrapers or whatever.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? So, we are going to die, but the Earth is going to be fine. It's not Krypton.
Yeah.
I like the idea of closing in on the idea of being both pessimistic and optimistic at the same time. It's been the theme of our show, I want to say. Today, Ed, where can the people find you and do the things?
Oh, awesome. Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter. As I said, I trained in the hyperbolic chamber, so Ed Greer Destroys is my Twitter name. And you can also follow me on Instagram, where I do some pretty good art, I think. And you can check out my comedy shows. I put all the flyers and stuff up on either one of those places, Twitter or Instagram. And I'm movie fighting tomorrow.
Oh,
That's a day I don't know. Spoilers! But yeah, I'm movie fighting tomorrow.
Yeah, good segue.
Nice.
Okay.
You guys have things to watch. One, Movie Fights tomorrow is coming back. And guess what? Guess what else is back?
Cheers.
Cheers. We're sitting.
Cheers. Won't.
Oh,
I like
and
how
what-
that's exciting.
Oh yeah, one last
I
thing.
guess so, yeah.
On my podcast, Nerd Goat podcast, we sit in chairs too. I just need to plug that. I never plug it, and it's so awesome. But anyway,
In truth, the truth is we love you guys. We love this audience. You are amazing and supportive and wonderful. Everybody has heard.
Unless you're
what
standing.
Has heard what you have to say and has listened. People will be seated. There will be 3 fighters. It will be magic and explosive. It's going to be a show to end all shows until the next day when we have SJU, which you should also tune in for. Dan Murrell.
Hello.
Hi. What do you want to call out to this week? Honest trailer? What do you love?
The honest trailer for The Last Jedi went about like we expected, but you know what? There have been some really insightful. I was tweeting yesterday. There were actually some very insightful comments, particularly on my thoughts about the movie, that have made me good food for thought. So there is discourse out there. You just gotta cut. You gotta cut through the noise to find it, and we're trying to do that. We keep attempting to do that, but it seems to be doing well, and we got some very nice. I like it when people say I loved / hated the movie, but I still thought the honest trailer was good, because that means that we kind of did our jobs.
Thanks.
So
It's
yeah,
a
Last
great
Jedi
one.
honest trailer. Check it out. If you loved it or hated it, you'll be on board.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect honest trailer. What do you loving this week? What do you want to call out
Can't
to?
say it better than that, but the restaurant I'm going to tonight, you have to pre-order the short rib, so it's got to be good. Like, I'm really excited for that tonight.
JT loves that. It's like, I could cut a meat.
So I'll be posting a picture of a big brontosaurus-sized short rib later. So look
These
forward to
are
that.
Yeah, but
relevant to my interests, not helpful to the call outs to our material, but relevant to my interests, which include food and wine, and what Spencer does when he's not here, because it's a damn mystery to all of us. He is the immortal snarky Highlander. Like, if the Highlander's power was being snarky, it's Spencer.
I am the
Gilbert.
last. Wait, no, that's Dragonheart. Never mind.
Connery was in both, though. Connery was in both.
I love discoursing with you guys. It has been a healthy conversation, if a little bit weird today. That's on me. I'm sure that I've said 26 things to offend people who all agree with me in the end. So we'll hear about that in comments. I'm excited. Love you guys. Thanks for joining us. Bye.